PhazePlays here with a build guide for a brand new build, Volcano. This powerful Spellcaster build combines Ball Lightning and Volcano to destroy maps with enormous coverage and annihilate endgame bosses. This build is easily one of the strongest all-rounders this league. It has huge single target damage. Mapping coverage is screen-wide and omnidirectional. Aiming isn't required. Burning Ground lingers and applies large ignites to everything that walks over it. This Burning Ground can even crit. It has enemy explosions through explosive impact and optionally even fiery death. Ball Lightning beams add a substantial amount of damage and also shock everything. This build is perfect for the new league mechanic, Runes of Aldur, along with Expedition, Ritual, Abyss, Breach, and its Sky Hives. To top it all off, it has a low barrier to entry. The only must-have item is Sire of Shards, which is insane for this build. Quill Rain is also recommended, though it's not required. Fire-infused explosions are fantastic and can even shotgun for huge damage. The cons are visual clutter, and Burning Ground can be a bit performance-heavy, particularly with Sion's Temper. Recovery is decent, Blasphemy Temporal Chains helps recharge, and Convalescence can top off Energy Shield when needed. If Energy Shield runs out, we have a solid life pool, 25% mitigation, and Life Leech. Mobility is okay, though it can be improved with Lightning Warp if desired. There's an in-depth written guide for this build in the description below. For the mapping playstyle, it's a 2-button build, Frostbomb and Ball Lightning. First, Frostbomb generates multiple fire infusions. Then, cast Ball Lightning a few times every couple seconds to blanket areas with Burning Ground and fire-infused explosions. Then repeat. It's extremely comfortable to map with. Interestingly, the explosions interact with terrain by sticking to walls. These can shotgun. Dragging enemies into tight areas can be an enormous damage boost. For a single target, the main damage combo is 2 Volcanoes, Flame Wall, and then 2 Shockwave Totems. More on this later. Let's take a closer look at the various mechanics for this build. Ball Lightning fires slow-moving projectiles that repeatedly zap nearby enemies. Fire infusions make it much stronger. Using Frostbomb with a short detonation time, +2 limit, and Spell Cascade, we very quickly generate multiple fire infusions with elemental equilibrium. Then, 1 fire infusion is consumed on each cast. Fire infusions modify Ball Lightning in 4 ways. Orbs decelerate over time until they stop moving. The orbs can stick to walls. Each orb leaves a trail of burning ground that ignites enemies. This ignite has a large base damage, and it can be further scaled by crits. For those that want to focus more on the burning ground, encroaching ground is a great option here. When an orb dissipates, it also explodes for a huge chunk of fire damage. These explosions can shotgun, so it's possible to take advantage of positioning and terrain for more overlaps. Wild Shards 2 or Sion's Temper can elevate this playstyle even further. On top of these mechanics, Ball Lightning beams continue to repeatedly hit enemies and apply shocks. Which playstyle do you prefer? Focusing more on burning ground coverage with more projectile speed and encroaching ground? Or focusing on the explosions with less projectile speed and Sion's Temper? There's an enormous amount of flexibility here. Alright, but what about single target damage? Enter Volcano. Volcano is a channeling spell that places a geyser on the ground that fires projectiles a couple times per second. There are various scaling avenues that we take advantage of to turn this skill into a beast. We go from 1 to 2 volcanoes with overabundance. By lowering the area of effect and projectile speed, projectiles travel less distance, leading to more hits on bosses. These projectiles can chain or bounce from the ground using Ricochet 2 for extra hits. Sire of Shards directly scales the number of projectiles fired from each volley, a huge damage multiplier. Placing a flame wall directly on top of volcanoes grants each projectile a sizable chunk of flat damage. And finally, the last ingredient is Shockwave Totem. When a volcano gets slammed by Shockwave Totem, it releases a volley of projectiles. This turns our volcanoes into rapid-fire machines. Each volcano can only be slammed 10 times before dissipating. Place volcanoes every couple of seconds to maintain maximum damage. Shockwave Totem requires a martial weapon, so our endgame offhand is Quill Rain to take advantage of its high attack speed. For mapping, cast Frostbomb ahead of you in the direction you're running, then grab any convenient fire infusions as you run by. Then cast Ball Lightning every couple seconds to blanket areas in burning ground and explosions. For every 1 Frostbomb cast Ball Lightning roughly 3 times. When you encounter a rare enemy, cast Frostbomb, double Volcano, and then if needed, double Shockwave Totem. For bossing, the main priority is maintaining elemental weakness, exposure, and sigil of power. After that, start the main damage combo. Double Volcano, Flame Wall, double Shockwave Totem, then double cast Volcano every couple seconds. Ball Lightning will typically apply shock to bosses with decent gear. This build relies on Sire of Shards, so it's not league startable right off the bat. The minimum requirements to start playing this build are Sire of Shards, a 4-link Frostbomb, Elemental Equilibrium, and Secrets of the Orb on the passive tree. If you don't have Quill Rain, offhand any lower level spear or crossbow with high attack speed and low attribute requirements. If your strength is on the low side, running a low level Shockwave Totem is fine. Sire of Shards is a common unique, so it shouldn't be particularly hard to get. In SSF, the reworked ritual may be a good option for targeting the staff. On League Start, I'd recommend playing Essence Drain with Contagion on an Infernalist or Lich until you get Sire of Shards and then respec to Blood Mage. First, we grab Vitality Siphon to offset the life cost of Sanguimancy. Later on, it also allows us to easily convert a big chunk of mana cost to life costs. Second, Sunder the Flesh provides a huge amount of base crit that makes scaling damage and burning ground much easier. Third, Grasping Wounds is a secondary layer of defense in case Energy Shield gets depleted. There are two options for the final notable. Crimson Power for a huge chunk of life, which can make life costs easier to manage and provides a bigger pool for life overflow. This also synergizes well with Enhanced Barrier. Or Whispers of the Flesh, which is roughly 18% more damage for bossing or anything that enters your Blasphemy radius. I'd recommend taking Crimson Power first. Later on, if you find the extra life unnecessary, swap to Whispers of the Flesh, drop Enhanced Barrier, and spec into a Zone of Control. For weapon set 2 with Quill Rain, assign it to Frostbomb, Elemental Weakness, and Shockwave Totem. Assign all other spells to weapon set 1. For Spirit Reservation, early on run Convalescence and Blasphemy Temporal Chains. If you get some extra Spirit on gear, consider adding in Siphon Elements. Late game, aim to fit in Blasphemy, Convalescence, and Elemental Conflux. But there's a lot of flexibility here. Here are some uniques you may want to keep an eye out for. Sire of Shards is mandatory. This is our endgame weapon. Quill Rain is highly recommended. The ideal quiver to go along with this is a primed quiver with attack speed, mana on kill, and life on kill. Prefixes aren't important. At Ziri's Splendor, even with the Energy Shield nerf, is still a fantastic chest with the right mods. Ingenuity is a great belt if you have good rings. Prism of Belief is excellent if you can get your hands on a +2 or +3 Volcano or Ball Lightning. For unique charms, the Nascent Hope, the Fall of the Axe, and Beer's Anguish are all great. Rite of Passage is incredibly strong with the right spirit, but they're incredibly expensive. The priority order here is Stag, Owl, then Boar. Grip of Kulamak is a fantastic ring if you can get at least 3 solid mods. The best mod here is projectiles have a chance to chain an additional time from terrain. Heart of the Well is also very strong with the right mods. Trade search links for these two uniques can be found in the written guide. Here are a few quick tips. Drag bosses towards enclosed areas or walls to take advantage of explosion shotguns. The burning ground can be demanding on some systems, especially with Sion's Temper. I'd highly recommend DX12 for this build as it's drastically better than Vulcan for burning ground performance. Siphon Elements is a great mapping option if you prefer a bit less Frostbomb usage. Consider keeping these gems in your inventory to swap into Ball Lightning depending on the situation. If mana or life costs are a bit much, consider Tekrod's Gaze in your gloves or Idol of Ishta in your helmet. Be sure to run an Ignite Immunity Charm if you have any issues sustaining Energy Shield. Fiery Death is a solid option for dense, juiced mapping, or for farming Breach, Ritual, Abyss, and Expedition. Headhunter is incredibly strong for mapping on this build. Lightning Warp is a solid mobility skill, and it creates shock ground when you teleport to Ball Lightning. This can be quite powerful. Eventually, aim for a corrupted Sire of Shards with +5 projectiles to elevate your damage to another level. Click like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. As always, thanks for watching.